presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Arizona.
One more for the road. We're in downtown Phoenix, the finale of this quick three-game home series against the Mets. Then it's right back out on the road off to San Diego for the weekend. But tonight, the rubber game, the Diamondbacks and the Mets on Fox Sports Arizona. Good evening from Chase Field and welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly along the way. We got a look, Bob, last night at Mitch Haniger, who made his major league debut in left field, made quite an impression. He's back in the lineup tonight playing center.
I'd say he made quite an impression. Hit seventh last night when he got a double and a triple. Moves up to 2 spot in the lineup tonight. Mitch Haniger looked real comfortable at the plate last night. Made a couple nice defensive plays. Showed a strong throwing arm.
Had a 2-run triple for his first major league hit.
Yeah, right out of the chute, bangs one out near the RamTrucks.com pool area. That made Mom really happy.
Yeah, Diamondbacks coach is very impressed with the quality of his at-bats and the swings he put on the baseball last night. So Haniger in center tonight. Your pitching matchup, Zach Godley for the Diamondbacks and the lefty John Neese for the Mets. Just saw John Neese Thursday at Citi Field in relief. He pitched the 6th inning, gave up 6 runs.
Diamondbacks banged him around pretty good in that ball game. This is second go-round with the Mets. This will be his 178th start in his career for the Mets, 10th on their all-time list. Gave up a home run to Tuffy and a bases-loaded triple to Chris Owings in that game in relief.
And D-backs sent 9 men to the plate in that 6th inning against Neese last week. So we are set to go. The rubber game of this 3-game set. It's Zach Godley and John Neese, the D-backs and the Mets on Fox Sports Arizona.
Arizona Diamondbacks baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by CenturyLink. Switch to CenturyLink Prison TV for an advanced TV experience. Learn more at cprisontv.com. By Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Double Jack Burger today, only at Jack in the Box. By Oregano's. Step up to the plate for a guaranteed home run at Oregano's, your neighborhood pizza joint, location statewide. And by your Valley Honda dealers, where you get more standard features for less money. Butte Casino. Get in on big wins. By Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. And by Best Buy. Tech to impress at Best Buy.
Inside Chase Field, we are set to go. The series finale and the rubber game. Zach Godley and the Diamondbacks, John Neese and the Mets. First pitch is next on Fox Sports Arizona. Both 79 degrees inside. As we wrap up this quick, I wouldn't even call it a homestand, a three-game home series against the Mets. Diamondbacks won Monday. New York got it last night. So here we go, the third and decisive game against the Mets, who are just 13-18 since the All-Star break. And right now, 3.5 back of a wild card spot in the National League.
Yeah, they figure to get some of their missing pieces back this weekend when they go to San Francisco. But here's how Terry Collins will line them up tonight. Jose Reyes at shortstop. Kelly Johnson at third base tonight. Jay Bruce in right field. James Loney at first base. TJ Rivera had some defensive issues at third. He's playing second tonight. Curtis Granderson in left. Travis d'Arnaud catching. Alejandro De Aza in center field. And Jonathan Neese, the lefty, on the mound.
So Terry Collins ball club all set to go against your Arizona Ford. Starting pitcher for the D-backs, it's Zach Godley. 13 games, 6 starts, a 5.24 ERA. He has moved into Patrick Corbin's rotation spot while Patrick works through his issues in the bullpen.
Yeah, if you want to call that a promotion from the bullpen back into the rotation based on what he did in relief of Patrick Corbin at Fenway Park last weekend. 5 1/3 innings of 1-run, 2-hit relief. And back in the rotation tonight for Zach Godley.
Take a look at the Diamondbacks defensively tonight around Zach Godley. Our Eye on Defense is brought to you by Nationwide Vision Centers.
Mitch Haniger finds his way into center field tonight. He'll be flanked by Ricky Weeks Jr. in left, Yasmani Tomas in right. It'll be Drury, Owing, Segura, Goldschmidt third to first across the infield. Tuffy Gosewish doing the catching on his birthday for right-hander Zach Godley.
Chad Fairchild is behind the plate tonight. He'll have the balls and strikes. James Hoy is our first base umpire. Tom Woodring at second, and the crew chief Marvin Hudson is at third. Jose Reyes set to lead it off, and we are set to go from downtown Phoenix on a Wednesday night.
Brandon Drury creeps in a couple of steps from third, and that's ball one to Reyes, who's batting .253 with 3 home runs. .106 degrees outside in downtown Phoenix right now. Very comfortable 79 inside Chase Field. Reyes has 4 hits and 2 bases on balls in the series. He's got a triple. He's knocked in 3 runs. Chops that one foul right to Tom Goodwin coaching at first, and Godley's ahead 1-2. That one squirted between Segura and Goldie, and Reyes is aboard. Zach tried to come inside that time and left it out over the plate just a little too much.
Third baseman, number 55, Kelly.
I'm going to bring up Kelly Johnson, who's in at third tonight. .243, 8 home runs. He had a home run in the ball game last night. In fact, his last 2 homers have come against the Diamondbacks.
Kelly Johnson is one of those hitters that always loves it when the guy in front of him gets on base, giving him that hole on the right side of the infield. Look for something he can pull in that direction.
This was Johnson in the ball game last night against Braden Shipley.
Didn't look like a home run swing, but that ball went a long way to right center field.
Led off the 6th inning. Lines it off the glove of Goldie. Segura's there to recover, and they are able to get Johnson at first. Reyes moves up. That was a rocket that Paul had to really extend out to get. Couldn't quite get a glove around it, but Segura does a nice job backing up.
Yeah, just got enough of it to knock it down. If he catches that, obviously an easy double play, but Gene Segura, Johnny on the spot, backing it up and fires on in time to get Johnson at first. That's 3-4-3 if you're scoring at home.
1 away for Jay Bruce, and the Diamondbacks will put the shift on. But they'll leave Drury, the third baseman, over near the third base bag with Reyes at second. Bruce .255. Rolls this one into the shift. Segura from the right field grass throws him out, and Reyes is in at third. The first baseman, James Loney, now. Loney sat out Monday's series opener. He was 0 for 4 last night. Batting .270 with 6 home runs. No shift for the D-backs against Loney. And that's ball 1. James Loney still hitless against the Diamondbacks this year. 0 for 4 last night, 0 for 10 in the series last week at Citi Field. Longtime LA Dodgers, certainly played here long enough. Carves that one right at Reyes, who was standing in foul ground. Just missed him, in fact. It's 1-1.
And that's why the Diamondbacks do not play an exaggerated pull shift for James Loney. He's a guy that'll spray it around depending on where the ball's pitched. So you got to play him pretty much straight up, even in the outfield. Diamondbacks straight up.
Chop foul, and Godley's ahead 1-2. He's already got 2 ground ball outs in the inning. Duffy has to chase that one all the way back to the backstop, and Reyes comes in with a first Met run.
Yeah, you know, if a ball gets away from Tuffy, it hit a bad spot on his chest protector.
You could hear it hit something from up here.
Breaking ball down in the dirt. Perfect position.
Oh.
It came all the way up and got him in the mask. And of course, that mask is angled. It's not flat like the chest protector. And when it hits the mask, it's going to bounce to one side or the other. That's too bad.
You saw Loney with the check swing. It made a very definitive sound. It didn't sound like a bat, and it was indeed the face mask. So it's 1-0 New York, 2-2 on Loney. That's a wild pitch charge to Zach Godley. Change up missed, 3 balls and 2 strikes. TJ Rivera, the rookie, on deck. He strikes out Loney once Tuffy completes this one. And that's the end of the inning. But the Mets get one. Diamondbacks coming up against the lefty, John Neese. Career Met until he was traded to Pittsburgh last December in the deal that brought Neil Walker to New York. The Mets then reacquired Neese at the deadline August 1st. This is his 5th appearance for New York this year and his first start. Gene Segura leads it off. First pitch swinging in the air, short right. Jay Bruce on the run, coming in, and he's got it. 1 pitch, 1 out for Neese. The lineup for Chip Hale's Diamondbacks tonight against the lefty.
Gene Segura leads it off at second base. Mitch Haniger making his way to the plate out in center field tonight after a big night last night. Goldie at first base. Ricky Weeks Jr. in left field. Yasmani Tomas in right. Chris Owens at shortstop with Brandon Drury at third. Tuffy Goswish catching and Zach Godley on the mound.
Yeah, quite a big league debut last night for the 25-year-old rookie Mitch Haniger. He looks at strike one. He doubled, tripled. Knocked in 3 runs, made a nice running catch in left field, showed off a strong throwing arm as well. And in there in center tonight. Called up from AAA Reno before the game yesterday. The first player in D-backs history to record a triple for his first career hit.
And one thing to watch for John Neese tonight is location. At this stage of his career, he doesn't have the stuff he once did. He really needs to live on the corners and down at the knees.
Everybody impressed with Mitch Haniger, Bob. Not just the results, which were obvious, but the quality of the at-bats and the swings he put on the baseball.
Yeah, even his first at-bat, when he was called out on strikes, it was on a 3-2 pitch and a borderline strike at the bottom of the zone. He was ready to head down to first base, but saw a lot of pitches in his first at-bat.
He strikes him out, 2 down.
Our eye on defense for Terry Collins Mets is brought to you by Nationwide Vision Center.
Chris Granderson in left field tonight. Alejandro Diaz in center. Jay Bruce over in right. It'll be Johnson and Reyes on the left side of the infield. TJ Rivera and Loney on the right side, with Travis d'Arnaud doing the catching for the left-hander John Neese.
Paul Goldschmidt. Oh, he's been going with that backdoor curveball to these right-handers so far, and stealing strikes. Goldie, 298, 18 home runs, 4 hits in the series, 2 doubles and a triple. He's also walked twice. John Neese, after rejoining the Mets, made 4 relief appearances, and as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast tonight, the last one was against the Diamondbacks. Thursday at Citi Field, they came on in relief to start the 6th inning, and the D-backs sent 9 men to the plate against him. And what turned out to be a 6-run 6th against Neese. He walked 3. Chris Owings hit a 3-run triple. Tuffy started off the inning with a home run. Full count on Goldie, 3-2. Tried that cutter and missed. A 2-out walk for Goldie brings up Ricky Weeks Jr. Time now, Bob, for your Valley Honda dealers. Key to the game.
Righty righties for the Diamondbacks. An all right-handed hitting offense tonight for the D-backs. They lead the National League in slugging percentage and OPS against left-handed pitching. So Chip has loaded up that lineup with righties tonight, including Ricky Weeks, who's been really good when he's been in the starting lineup. 295 hitter with 10 extra base hits. He's driven in 15 runs in 27 games when he started.
And he's got the start tonight in left field. Ricky Weeks Jr. 240 for the year overall. 6 homers, all 6 home runs coming as a starter. He has struck out twice as a pinch hitter in this series so far. Ricky homered in his start in Boston Friday. Prior to that, had 2 hits, including a double in his previous start. That was here at Chase Field against his old team, the Brewers. Bounces this one to third. Kelly Johnson's over there. They go the short way for the force on Goldie, and that's the inning. We are through one at Chase Field. Diamondbacks trail the Mets 1-0.
However, Chip Hale was quick to point out that the young righty has earned a spot in this rotation. He just had the ability to throw out of the pen as the team used him. However, he believes Godley can be effective tonight with his ability to pitch in. But he cautioned they want to keep him honest out there hitting those spots, because last night the team saw just how quickly things can unravel as Shipley became one-dimensional, leaving that ball up.
Yeah, Braden Shipley had 4 scoreless innings, then suddenly a 4-run Met fifth and a 3-run 6th. DJ Rivera ground that one to second, and Godley has now retired 4 in a row, 1 down.
I heard Tom Candiotti last night on Snake Talk talking about Braden Shipley, and I tend to agree with him. He got a little too reliant on his changeup, was really throwing a lot of off-speed pitches, and then he compounded that by leaving a lot of them up in the zone, and the Mets really made him pay.
The shift is on against Curtis Granderson, the start in left field tonight. Godley gets strike 1. Granderson 224 and 18 home runs. How do you have 18 home runs and only 32 RBIs? That's hard to do.
Well, he spent a lot of time in the leadoff spot. That might help explain some of it.
Fair point. 1-1. He's got 7 leadoff homers of those 18. Sends this one into foul ground on the right side, and it's 1-2. Well, the Mets are about to get a whole lot healthier. He did not go, says Marvin Hudson. Healthier in their outfield. Cespedes is playing another minor league rehab game today, as is Justin Ruggiano. And with the way Granderson's been producing 179 since the All-Star break, he might find himself on the bench from time to time. He's worked it full against Godley, 3-2. Granderson right now just 5 hits in his last 42 at bats. He is 1 for 9 in the series, had a single in Monday's game. And Godley strikes him out. Second strikeout for Zach, who's now set down 5 in a row.
Now, the one saving grace for Curtis Granderson as far as staying in the lineup when Cespedes comes back is the fact that his competition in center field, Alejandro De Aza, is even worse.
They're both left-hand hitters. That also helps. So pick the least offensive lefty and off you go. Here's the catcher, Travis d'Arnaud. On a hop, quick glove hand by CO. There's some COD. Another ground ball out for Zach Godley. He's retired 6 in a row after the Reyes leadoff single. Chris Owings, a tough short hop, quick glove hand. Diamondbacks down 1-0.
door said she wasn't feeling well. Yeah, she doesn't look good at all.
Not at all.
I don't know she was a Met fan either.
Mrs. DeGrom and Mrs. Syndergaard here tonight.
Hey, D-backs fans, you can't go back to the 90s, but Pepsi has the next best thing. Tighten up your fanny pack because Crystal Pepsi is back. It's available in stores right now, but only for a limited time. As Monty Tomas leads off the second against John Neese. All kidding aside, we know that Adele's not feeling too well and had to cancel the concert right next door tonight. So hopefully she's better. Tomas 264 now with 23 home runs. That's one behind Jake Lamb for the team lead. 0-2. Another homer for Yasmani last night. He's homered in both games in the series. And now has 6 home runs in his last 9 games.
Only one behind Jake Lamb for the team lead. Tomas with 23, Jake Lamb with 24.
Fastball missed up and away, and it's 1-2 on Yasmani. Waves at that one, got him with a curveball. Second strikeout for Neese, one down in the second. That'll bring up Chris Owings.
Neese will change speeds on that curveball. He'll throw a harder one, and then occasionally, like this one, he'll make it an off-speed pitch, take a lot off. That time got Tomas out in front.
Chris Owings in at shortstop again tonight. 277 and 2 homers. And 2 hits and 2 RBIs in Monday's ball game. But was 0 for 4 last night. That snapped CO's 8-game hitting streak. Went down and got that curveball, but a high hop to Rivera. 2 outs. Well, no Jake Lamb in the starting lineup tonight. I don't think it's a lefty thing. I think the way Jake's been swinging the bat, Bob, he just needed a day to sort of clear his head. So Brandon Drury's in at third. 256 and 10 homers.
I think you're absolutely right. Everybody needs a little rest from time to time, especially when you're struggling a little bit with your swing up there at the plate. And it seemed like a good night to get all righties in there against Jonathan Neese.
Oh, 1 to Brandon. Yeah, Jake is hitting .202 since the All-Star break, so he'll get a day to watch tonight. Available off the bench, of course. Brandon had an RBI double against the Mets on Monday, and he's hit safely in 3 of his last 4 games. He's ahead 3 balls and no strikes. The birthday boy, Tuffy Gozawish, on deck. Tuffy is 33 today. Last time he faced John Neese, he homered. A 4-pitch walk to Brandon Drury. Second walk of the ball game for Neese, and we'll get a look at Tuffy Gozawish. Tuffy 192 and 3 home runs. Homered off Neese Thursday in New York. .33 years old today. Born on the same day as his former Sun Devil teammate Dustin Pedroia, who's also 33 today. Red Sox are leading Baltimore 8-1. They're in a rain delay. Big game atop the American League East. There's ball 1. This was Tuffy last week at Citi Field.
Right down the third baseline. Oscar Hernandez had homered the day before in nearly the same location.
And Tuffy in his very next game hit a home run in the monster seats at Fenway Park the following day. He's ahead 2-0. Suddenly Neese has stopped throwing strikes. Yeah, Tuffy had 5 hits on that last road trip, a triple, 2 homers. John Neese suddenly has lost it. 3-0. 7 consecutive balls, and finally there's a strike. It's 3-1. He's now 30 pitches, 15 each. He was jumping ahead in the count early, right up until the Drury at bat. Full count, 3-2. That'll get Drury started from first. Loney will play behind the runner. Sky high pop up third base side. Johnson coming in, foul ground, but Darno's got it. And that's the inning. So Anise strands the 2-out walk. Diamondbacks trail the Mets 1-0. Season tickets are on sale right now, and you can customize your own ticket plan with a series, a weekend, or a half season. Or you could go all in with full season tickets. That includes all the benefits. Season ticket holders get the lowest price possible and extra perks like early entry and exclusive events. Find out more at dbacks.com/season tickets. And there's also a very handy section set up right here, Chase Field. They'll answer all your questions about season seats for 2017. Alejandro De Aza leads off the third against Zach Godley, who has set down 6 in a row, but trails at 1-0. So far, 4 ground ball outs, couple of strikeouts for Zach. De Aza 194 and 3 homers. Alejandro De Aza was 3 for 34 in August. Going into last night's starts in center field, but suddenly woke up, had a couple of doubles, a base on ball, scored 2 runs. So he's back out there tonight. Godley behind 3-0. He walked him. First walk issued by Zach Godley. It comes on 4 pitches to start the third. And that'll bring up the pitcher, Jonathan Neese.
Will more than likely be asked to put down a sac bunt. Pitching out of the bullpen for the Mets. One opportunity to put down a sac bunt. Did so successfully. Well, you hate those walks anytime leading off an inning, but especially the number 8 hitter. Now you can use your pitcher, and he might actually contribute to the offense if he can get a bunt down.
Gives him the chance to make a productive out. Drury halfway in from third. That pitch misses, and it's 1-0 on Neese. Suddenly Zach Godley 5 consecutive balls to start this inning.
bunt down, back to the mound. Godley will take it himself. Segura covers, and they move Diaz along. 1-4 on the sacrifice. First out brings up Reyes. Jose Reyes singled to lead off the ball game. Got over to third after a couple of ground ball outs and came home on a wild pitch. And that has been the game's only run so far. Right now he's got Diaz at second and 1 out. Reyes counting tonight. 6 hits in 5 games since he came off the DL. He missed 17 games with the left oblique strain. Right back to the mound. Godley throws to third, and they've got Diaz hung up. Somebody get over to that bag. Chris Owings chases him down, and Reyes sneaks into second. Everybody saw that third base was unoccupied. Had about 3 Diamondbacks in a dead run toward the base, but CO, Bob, as you have asked some of the Diamondback infielders to do, ran right at him.
Yeah, run right at him. Drury really was the guy that should have run at Diaz very hard, running back to second base hard, but the quick flip to Chris Owings, and he does the heavy lifting, running down Diaz between second and third. Reyes moves into scoring position at second base.
1-5-6 and a fielder's choice for Reyes. 1-5-6 on the put out. He's at second, 2 down now. And the batter is Kelly Johnson, who's in at third tonight. Johnson grounded out his first time up. Segura, belt high hop. He's got it from the edge of the outfield grass. Good job there by Zach Godley to put a goose egg back up there. Diamondbacks down 1-0.
The third, hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. A day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code DBACKS50 at papajohns.com.
Strike one to Zach Godley, who leads off the D-backs third against John Neese. Diamondbacks looking for their second series win over the Mets in the course of a week. Then it's off to San Diego after the ball game tonight. We're right back on an airplane. We just got off one. First of 4 against the Padres at Petco Park starting tomorrow.
This homestand was so short you could have just left the plane running over there at Sky Harbor.
That's right. Don't move it. I'll be right back. 3 strikeouts for Nice, 1 down. Well, it's a long trip for the Mets as well. This is the first leg of a 10-game roadie for Terry Collins Ball Club. Coming up 4 against the Giants in San Francisco. Then they finish up in St. Louis. Giants lost again today. Pirates beat it at AT&T Park 6-5. Matt Cain was on the mound for San Francisco. Segura flied out to lead off the ball game. Dodgers, who were in first place in the NL West at the start of play today, are leading the Phillies in Philadelphia 7-2. They're in the 9th. Rockies beat up on the Nationals 12-10 at Coors. And the Padres were shut out this afternoon in St. Pete by the Rays 2-0.
How about the Giants? They had the best record in the National League before the All-Star break. They've had the worst record in the National League since the break.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? Something has gone very badly wrong in San Francisco. Now they trail the Dodgers in the division. All strike 3. Nice strikes out Godley and Segura to open up the 3rd.
Cutter right on that inside corner. Nice working mostly away. First time through the Diamondbacks lineup. Maybe start to crowd some of the right-handed hitters in this lineup.
By the way, did you see the starting pitchers in that Giant game, the Pirates and the Giants? It was Nova versus Cain. Fairly painless.
Very nice. Nova Cain. I like that.
Mitch Haniger struck out his first time up. Rough day for Matt Cain. Gave up 6 runs all earned in 4 2/3. He walked 3 in that ball game. He got the loss. Now 4-8 on the year. John Nice throwing strikes. At one point in the 2nd inning, he threw 7 consecutive balls. But he has struck out Godley, struck out Segura, 1 and 2 on Haniger. What Chip Hale was saying after the game last night, Mitch Haniger looked really good up there. Every single swing he took was right on it. Takes strike 3. Chad Fairchild rings him up as Nice strikes out the side. He leads it 1-0.
Look at this day in baseball history, brought to you by Geico. This is one of my all-time favorites. Our old buddy, the late Richie Ashburn, hitting leadoff for the Phillies, hit a spectator in the stands, Alice Roth. While they put her on a stretcher to haul her out of the ballpark, he hit another foul ball and hit her again while she was on the stretcher.
Now, she was married to a sports writer, editor, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was married to the editor for the Philadelphia Bulletin, a newspaper at the time. Apparently, he had written some critical comments about Richie and decided to take it out on Mrs. Roth.
Jay Bruce leads off the fourth against Zach Godley. Bruce grounded out his first time up. He's got 3 hits and a couple of walks in the series. Tied for 3rd in the National League in both home runs and RBIs. 27 home runs, 85 runs batted in.
We've been kind of documenting the Red Sox nightmare of a road trip that they had after the Diamondbacks left Fenway Park.
4 cities in 5 days.
Yeah, with a day game tomorrow in Detroit in 15 hours from now, and they're still sitting at the ballpark in Baltimore watching the rain.
And Segura was out there in short right, throws him out. Yeah, that has become bigger conspiracy wise than the Tom Brady suspension in Boston as James Loney comes up. They have a night game in Baltimore, a scheduled 1 o'clock start tomorrow in Detroit. Apparently the Red Sox called the Tigers back in January before the NFL schedule was released or even established and said, hey, can you move that Thursday game on August 18th to a night game because we're in Baltimore the night before. The Tigers apparently said no. And then the Lions schedule came out. There is an exhibition game or a preseason game tomorrow night right across the street at Ford Field. So they're sort of using that as a reason as to why they couldn't move the game. But people in Boston are very upset because, well, we called back in January and they said no. So
I wonder why the Orioles wouldn't be a little more accommodating and schedule a day game today for getaway day. Everybody's conspiring against it.
That's been the theory for the last century or so. What a play by Segura. Throws out Loney, 2 down. Boy, Zach Godley has got the ground ball outs rolling tonight.
Boy, and when you see your pitcher on the mound rolling up the ground balls the way that Godley has tonight, every infielder's a little quicker on his feet. Gene Segura with a nice play to his right there. Plenty of time to get Loney at first base.
9 ground ball outs through 3 2/3 for Zach Godley.
There's one more cherry on the sundae for the Red Sox. Clay Buchholz is a scheduled starting pitcher tomorrow in Detroit. Now, he went to the airport to fly on to Detroit ahead of the team. Yeah. His plane got delayed 3 hours, so he went back to Camden. Just sitting there with the team watching it rain now.
He's still there.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. TJ Rivera. Yeah, I had heard that there was a 75% chance of rain and that it might be there all night, and it's not going well.
And those are the kind of things that will cause some bad blood between 2 organizations.
Well, that's another one of the conspiracy theories, is because the Red Sox GM Dave Dombrowski used to be the Tigers GM and didn't leave, I guess, under the greatest of terms. So people in Boston tend to think that the Tigers are kind of sticking it to Dombrowski this way.
Well, and the Orioles might be sticking it to the Red Sox too. They were tied a game behind the Blue Jays going into play today, and what do the Orioles care? Well, we'll wait 6 or 8 hours here. I think there's a window at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I think we can get this one in.
They're neck and neck atop the division. It's a competitive advantage, and neither team is willing to give it up, which is understandable. 2-2 now on TJ Rivera. The Red Sox played Sunday against the Diamondbacks in Boston, and they had a makeup game Monday in Cleveland. They play a couple of games in Baltimore Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday Detroit. So that's 4 cities in 5 days. Behind the bag at second, Haniger on the run coming in. Owings calls him off, and he's got it. And it's a 1-2-3-4 for Zach Godley. Diamondbacks still looking for their first hit. They trail the Mets 1-0.
Jumbo Jack tomorrow at participating Jack in the Box locations with the purchase of a large drink.
Well, the D-backs need to get the offense going against lefty John Neese, who so far has walked 2, struck out 5, and not given up a hit. He struck out the side 1, 2, 3 in the 3rd. And now Goldie, who walked his first time up, leads off the 4th. Goldie's already walked 3 times in the series. He's got 4 hits, including 2 doubles and a triple. One and 2. Boy, Neese is just against all these right-handers. He's been mostly staying away.
And Chad Fairchild has obliged him by going off of that outside corner several times, well off the outside corner for called strikes. I mentioned it early on. Neese needs to work those corners down at the knees to be effective. And if the home plate umpire is going to give him 6 or 8 inches off the corner, he's going to try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, he certainly did that on that called 3rd strike to Mitch Haniger that ended the bottom of the 3rd. That was not a strike. Good take by Mitch. 2 and 2 on Goldie. Tried to come in that time. Still 2 and 2. Single for Goldie leads off the 4th. Their first hit against John Neese.
A little bit too big a bite out of the strike zone that time. A backdoor breaking ball that strayed over the middle of the plate, and Goldie just banged it through that left side. Reyes and Johnson barely moved over there. That ball was by him before they could think about it.
Neese has been going to that curveball a lot tonight. Ricky Weeks Jr. Cutter's in there again. They stay away. 0-1. Goldie's only the D-backs' 3rd base runner tonight, so they haven't had a chance to run wild as they have on the Mets throughout this series. Play. It's 0-2.
Neese looks like he's not really committed to throwing that ball inside to some of these right-handed hitters.
He does not want to go in there if he doesn't have to. You can see Darno set up in there, and he missed that by about 4 or 5 feet. Goldie will take off for second. The throw is late.
Alert base runners, they read the flight of the ball. Goldie saw that pitch was going to go in the dirt, and he broke for second immediately. That's a really tough play for a catcher to block, recover, and make a strong throw. Goldie beats that one easily. Great read.
He's at second with nobody out, and a 2-2 count on Ricky Weeks Jr. Anderson looking up, and there it goes. Ricky Weeks Jr., that's his 7th, and it's 2-1 Diamondbacks. Well, Bob, you said it earlier in the ball game. Ricky Weeks has been very effective when he's been in the starting lineup for Chip Hale. All 7 homers this year coming as a starter.
Well, as a starter, it gives him a couple of opportunities to see an opposing pitcher. Watch how quick his hands are here. Really pulled his hands inside quickly, got the barrel on the ball. Thought it might be too high initially, but that ball carried well out of here.
Well, Jonathan Neese, that's the 24th home run he's given up this year. Here's Tomas, who struck out his first time up. He taps that right to Matt Williams. Ricky Weeks Jr. That's a jumbo jack, a free jumbo jack tomorrow with a purchase of a large drink from our friends at Jack in the Box. Tell them Ricky sent you.
As a starter, you might get 2 or 3, maybe even 4 looks at an opposing pitcher, as opposed to Ricky's normal job coming off the bench as a pinch hitter late in the game when you're facing a setup guy or a closer. So it stands to reason that his numbers would be much better as a starting player.
He's batting 159 as a pinch hitter. He's about 300 as a starter. Tomas sends another one out of here. Way back and gone. El Tanque Yasmani Tomas. That's his 24th. He's now homered in 3 straight games. Seven homers in his last 10, and it's 3-1 Diamondbacks.
Some locations with that cutter that was meant to be on the back door. It's straight over the inner third of the plate, and we know what Yasmani does with fastballs on the inside part of the plate.
Chris Owings, they go back to back. Boy, Bob, it's really impressive to watch Yasmani. Every time he launches one out of here, it comes on a nice, easy, almost effortless swing. Another jumbo jack. Chris Owings lines one right to Reyes, and that's the first out in the 4th. Manny Tomas, 7 home runs in his last 10 games. He's homered now in 3 straight every game in this series. He and Ricky Weeks Jr. go back to back. It's 3-1. Here's Brandon Drury now, who walked his first time up against Neese. And Brandon shoots that the other way. Jay Bruce is out there. Now that's the 2nd out. He goes a wish, whose last home run came against John Neese last week at Citi Field.
Catcher, Tuffy, goes away.
Tuffy back there tonight on his 33rd birthday today. Well, Yasmani Tomas, last 25 games or so, has been an almost completely different hitter. The plate discipline comes and goes, but the power looks like it might be here to stay.
Tuffy celebrating a birthday today, as is our tech manager, David Halpern, one of the best in the business, celebrating. He's a little older than Tuffy, but that's all right.
Oh, he's just more experienced, that's all.
There you go.
1 and 2. Well, Diamondbacks started off this inning without a base hit against John Neese. Goldie got it started with a single. And then Weeks Jr. and Tomas back-to-back home runs. Two balls and 2 strikes on Tuffy. Bounced up the middle for Reyes. And that's the end of the inning, but the Diamondbacks get 3. Ricky Weeks Jr. starts us off. His 7th of the year. They go back to back. Yasmani Tomas is 3rd in 3 games. 3-1 D-backs. hit. Reyes single to lead it off, and that ground ball has been a weapon tonight. 9 ground ball outs, 6 of them coming on that sinker.
Well, it's a good sign, keeping the ball down with some late movement, getting some weak contact. Defense making all the plays behind him so far tonight. Keep it rolling.
9 ground ball outs. He's walked 1, struck out 2. Curtis Granderson will lead off the net 5th, and Godley now with a 3-1 lead.
That's the MO you like to see in this ballpark. Put the ball on the ground.
D-backs will put the shift on for Granderson, who struck out his first time up tonight. A little different look to the D-backs shift against left-hand hitters with Jake Lamb not in the lineup. Brandon Drury, who's got a lot, although Jake made a nice couple of nice plays over there last night with that shift on. But Brandon Drury, who's played a lot of second base in his day, is over there right now as the third baseman.
Well, Jake even turned a 6-5-3 double play from the pull shift position.
Yeah, did a nice job over there. Made another diving stab on a ground ball into that shift. 1 and 2 on the Grandy man. One for 10 in the series. Curtis Granderson now at .223 on the year. Zach Godley strikes him out. That's his 3rd, 1 away.
Feeling that changeup tonight too. See that kind of tumbling rotation, the ball slightly tailing away from the left hand, hitting Granderson and way out in front.
Boy, we're 1 out in the 5th. He's not yet at 50 pitches either. That's been the other part of those ground ball outs. Very efficient tonight. Travis d'Arnaud, a ground out victim his first time up.
Well, that was the case in his relief appearance at Fenway. Went 5 1/3 through only 67 pitches in that appearance.
Trying a curveball and missed. 1-0 on the Met catcher. d'Arnaud hitless in 2 games against the Diamondbacks last week at Citi Field, but he had 3 hits Monday night, all singles. That's this one in the air to deep center. Mitch Haniger's out there tonight. And he's got it 2 down. A fly ball out for Godley. Michael Bourne, I've stopped the presses. Michael Bourne got a night off, and he has earned it big time.
He probably doesn't know what to do with himself not being in the lineup playing center field.
Well, he's done a tremendous job, but the Diamondbacks are going to get long looks at Mitch Haniger, a guy who, based on his season so far, certainly looks like he will play a role in 2017. As Alejandro Diaz, their center fielder, steps in. He walked his first time up. Mitch Haniger has got real versatility in that outfield. Started in left field last night. He started in center tonight. And he made 30 starts in center at Reno this year. 24 in right field. He played a pretty fair amount of left field when he was with AA Mobile earlier this season. So you can pretty much put Haniger out there anywhere. Runs well. He's got a good arm.
Got a big arm. I mean, that's usually the determining factor whether a guy can play right field or not. Certainly if you can play center, you can play right as far as catching the ball and tracking them down. But a lot of times center fielders don't have enough arm to move to right field. But Haniger's got plenty of hose.
0-2 on Diaz. Trying to backdoor him and miss with a changeup. It's 1-2.
Pretty good looking pitch right there.
Ugh. We've seen worse called strikes tonight. Piazza can't hold up. Tofigozovic throws him out. That's 4 strikeouts for Zach Godley, who's retired 7 straight. Diamondbacks lead the Mets 3-1. Home half of the fifth, and we welcome the lovely Mike into our booth tonight, modeling the D-backs Sanderson Ford batting practice pullover. And this is a giveaway item coming up right next Saturday.
That's right. I mean, a week from Saturday is our alumni game, which this year is before the game. Starts at 2:30, so you want to get here early to the ballpark. Obviously, for the game, you get to see all the greats, you know, from the D-backs days, but also to get this early.
First 20,000 fans get that before the Diamondbacks and Reds game, which is a 5:10 start. The alumni game starts at 2:30 Saturday, August 27th. dbacks.com/alumni for tickets. It's on the back. You were indicating there the Diamondbacks is on the back, right?
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. I'm not just pointing to my back for random reasons unknown, but yeah, it says D-backs on the back. It's a great giveaway.
That's a good item there.
You know, you guys have had Vanessa modeling this.
Yes, we have.
She looks good in anything.
That's true.
I'm a heftier guy by like a significant amount.
Just a smidge.
And it fits great. So one size fits just about all.
Yeah, it's got the cool short sleeves. That's what the players wear.
Right,
You know,
that's right.
That's why they call it BP top. Yeah, that's what the guys wear for batting practice. The short sleeve, zip up, little kind of a fake jacket.
And usually at a ballpark you might get a t-shirt or something, but I don't recall ever seeing BB in all the ballparks we've been to a batting practice pullover giveaway. This is a step up big time. A base hit for Zach Godley, leads off the bottom of the fifth against John Neese. So thanks to the lovely Mike. Nice job there.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
When's Vanessa coming back?
Vanessa will be here next week when we're back home.
All right.
Monday, maybe Tuesday. I'm not sure.
We're always happy to see you.
Know.
Second baseman, Gene
There are levels of happiness.
Yeah, it's just.
I can't tell you guys how many pictures I take for fans of them and Vanessa. They just hand me the
you're the
camera.
guy that gets here. Can
you take a picture of Vanessa and me, please?
Yeah, that's our lot in life. All right, Mike. Thanks, man.
I should correct myself. I mentioned that David DeLucci was watching the game from Louisiana last night and mentioned that he would be here next Saturday or a week from this Saturday for the alumni game. David's not going to be able to make it this year. We're going to miss him, but hopefully everything's okay down there with all the floods that they've been suffering.
Terrible flooding in the Baton Rouge area. But you'll see Matt Williams, Mark Grace, all the legends. And you get your Diamondbacks batting practice pullover. That's coming up the 27th, the alumni game. High fly ball, deep right center. Diazza at the track, and he's got it just shy of the wall out there. Godley back to the bag at first, and that's the first out in the fifth.
It's kind of an unfair advantage for guys like Matt Williams and Mark Grace and some of the guys that have gone into coaching after their playing career. Some of the high school coaches around town, you know, they throw on a regular basis. They swing the bat on a regular basis.
Some of these guys might not have picked up a baseball in 364 days.
Yep.
Mitch Haniger 0 for 2. Has started in center field today. His second big league game. Here comes Gary Go-Go Gagne. Our Golden Glover down the left field line. There's Go-Go. Nice job. Jim Too Tall Tolar working right field today. One and one on Haniger, who has so far struck out twice, 0 for 2. Mitch Haniger, the Diamondbacks minor league player of the month for July. Having an enormous year for Phil Nevin in Reno when he got the call up the other day. 351 and 19 home runs. 56 RBIs in 64 games in the Coast League. Neese strikes him out for the third time tonight. 6 strikeouts for Neese. He's got Haniger in half of those.
It's that slow curveball again. Took a little more off. Haniger way out front that time again. Boy, he really rolls over on that left foot. Makes his stride out toward the mound. He really rolls on the outside of his left shoe.
Terry Collins going to take the baseball here. Back from Chase Field, D-backs lead at 3-1. Diamondbacks fans, if you can't catch the games on TV, you can stream them live on your mobile device with the all-new Fox Sports Go app. Just download the app and take Fox Sports Arizona and Diamondbacks baseball with you wherever you go. And John Neese coming off a long tenure as a relief pitcher on a short pitch count tonight. So the new pitcher for the Mets will be the right-hander Eric Goodell. We saw Goodell in the series opener here Monday night. He had a rough 5th inning. Gave up 3 doubles in that inning. Wellington Castillo, Brandon Drury, and Gene Segura. This is his 27th appearance of the year. John Neese's night ends after 4 2/3. The pitcher Godley at first, 2 down for Goldie, who was walked, singled, and scored a run. John Neese had been pulled from the Pittsburgh Pirates rotation in June and had been working as a reliever when the Mets reacquired him at the trade deadline for reliever Antonio Bastardo. So he was not going to go 100 pitches tonight, working as a relief pitcher the last 2 months. So a short night for Neese. Goodell spiked that one. Goldie's ahead 3-0.
Splitter. It's about 2 feet out in front of home plate and then right on the very bottom of Darno's mask.
Talk about saving face. Nice. 3-0. Well, Goodell comes in and walks Goldie. So it's Godley at second, Goldie at first. 2 outs for Ricky Weeks Jr., who homered his last time up, his 7th of the year.
Left fielder, Ricky Weeks Jr.
That's the 4th walk in this series for Paul Goldschmidt. 2 on and 2 out for Weeks. Ricky Weeks Jr., his 2nd tonight, his 8th of the year. And the Diamondbacks have opened up a 6-1 lead.
Stay hot, Ricky Weeks. Wow. Well, when he gets those hands working the way he's got them working tonight, he is as dangerous as anybody in this Diamondbacks lineup.
He can still swing it. The legends celebrate. That's a pool party with tacos.
Or just a center cut fastball. Lightning quick hands, barrels that ball up. A towering home run to left field for Ricky Weeks.
That is his 8th career multi-home run game and his 1st since 2013. As Manny Tomas last time in the 4th inning. Weeks Jr. and Tomas went back-to-back. Five RBIs for Ricky Weeks Jr. ties a career high. Tomas is ahead 2-0. By the way, they finally banged that game in Baltimore. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Red Sox win at 8-1. Now they fly to Detroit.
Red Sox on a boat right now to the airport. I saw some pictures online. It was just pouring in Baltimore.
Well, at least somebody made the right decision and just called it quits. Wow. Oh, Eric Goodell Thinks he's playing cricket out there. Three 0 on Yasmani. His home run in the fourth is 24th of the year. That ties Jake Lamb for the team lead.
Did they move the rubber back between innings?
Apparently they did. Or they moved the plate back.
Oh, Lord.
Chad Fairchild says that's a strike.
Nothing fair about this. Oh, that's brutal.
Wow. Hey. Yasmani takes a walk. Second walk in the inning issued by Eric Goodell. That's going to bring Dan Werther out from the dugout to have a word. The Mets pitching coach. Mets need every game they can get their hands on. The Washington Nationals lost in Colorado today, 12-10. So the Mets started this game 10 back in the NL East. 3.5 out for that second National League wild card. It's been a 3-run Diamondback fourth, followed by a 3-run fifth. And here's Chris Owings. Out ahead of that changeup, and it's 0-1.
Sure what Eric Goodell has against Travis d'Arnaud, but he's beating lumps on him back there behind the plate in this inning.
Two and one on Chris Owings. Diamondbacks now with 5 hits. 3 of them are home runs. 2 by Ricky Weeks Jr., 1 from Yasmani Tomas. CO broken bat, dunks it into left, a base hit. And the inning continues for the Diamondbacks. That'll bring up Brandon Drury. Terry Collins has seen enough of Eric Goodell. He's going to have a double switch for Chad Fairchild behind the plate. And we'll sort it out when we come back. Diamondbacks with 3 homers. They lead at 6-1. Archie Bradley and Jake Lamb singing some Adele up on the board after she had to cancel a concert tonight. Seth Lugo is the new pitcher for the Mets, his 9th appearance of the year. We saw him pitch 2 innings of the ball game on Monday. Gave up a run on 2 hits and had 2 strikeouts. Some defensive changes behind him, a double switch for Terry Collins. Ty Kelly comes into the ball game. He'll take over in left for Curtis Granderson. Granderson moves into center, replacing Alejandro De Gaza. So that would make the pitcher's spot 8th in the Met order. Kelly will bat 9th. Brandon Drury now. He's got Yasmani Tomas at second, Chris Owings at first. 2 outs and 3 runs in. There's a strike 0-1. I can just picture Archie and Jake Lamb, Phil Gosselin sitting around the house singing Adele. And if it sounds anything like it just did, they might want to get new neighbors.
Ooh. Dogs in the neighborhood are howling.
Yeah.
Some of the people that came downtown expecting to go to the Adele concert and found out it was canceled made their way over here. Might as well check out a ball game while you're downtown.
It's been a good one to come see. 3 Diamondback home runs. They lead at 6-1. 0-2 on Drury, who has walked and flied out. Lugo and Darno have to get together. Are you a Adele guy?
I think she's a very talented young lady.
Yeah, she sure is. All her songs are kind of a bummer, though.
Weepy.
Yeah. But she can sing. I guess she's not going to do the Super Bowl. There's some controversy about that. She says she was offered the gig, and the NFL is, well, that's not exactly correct, but they're still looking for the halftime act at the Super Bowl. Maybe they can get Archie Bradley and Jake Lamb.
Yeah. Did Dan Bickley's band Whiskey's Quicker. I'm sure they play it.
Brandon Drury strikes out. That ends the inning, but the Diamondbacks get 3 more. Ricky Weeks Jr. his 2nd home run tonight, his 8th of the year. A 3-run shot makes it 6-1 Diamondbacks.
Six-1 lead as we head to the 6th with Zach Godley making it count as reinforcements are on the way with Shelby Miller posting a 4-1 record with Reno. The D-backs have said it's not a matter of if, but when we'll see Miller back in the rotation this year. Tony La Russa explained to me that Miller put such pressure on himself to start the season that he was nearly beaten when they sent him down. But the righty continues to build confidence, and now the team is evaluating when to bring him back up. And while that's usually a decision left solely to management, Tony explained to me because Miller's struggles were more mental versus physical, they will let him weigh in on this decision.
Well, hopefully Shelby will be back up here soon. Ty Kelly leads off the 6th inning. The Braves lost at home tonight to the Minnesota Twins 10-3 in the major league debut of Dansby Swanson. Swanson was playing shortstop for Atlanta and batting 8th tonight. He went 2 for 4 with a single and a strikeout. A couple of singles, I should say. And you see Dansby Swanson when the Braves come in on Monday. 1-2 on Ty Kelly.
It's been a real nice mix for Zach Godley tonight. Coming into this inning, he'd thrown 22 sinkers, 6 cutters, 6 four-seam fastballs, 9 curveballs, and 10 changeups. That's about as much as you can mix it up.
He's got 9 ground ball outs. He's retired 7 straight. There's another ground ball out. It's over his head. Going to have to hurry, though, and there's no play. Well, he found a dead spot right behind the mound, and Kelly has a leadoff single. That's just the 2nd Mets hit. And their first since Reyes led off the ball game with a single.
It sounded like Kelly hit that ball right off home plate. Zach couldn't jump. He was backing up the mound and just couldn't get his legs underneath him to make enough of a jump at that ball. Once it got over his head, there was no play for anybody.
So Ty Kelly aboard. Here's Reyes, 1 for 2. Two balls and no strikes on the Mets shortstop. Mets infield is getting healthier. They just got Reyes back last weekend. As Drupal Cabrera, who's been out with a strained left patella tendon, played 4 innings at shortstop for Class A St. Lucie last night. He's got another game tonight. He'll be back soon. There's his strike. Godley, Segura, shovel pass, Owings. Oh, they can't turn 2. Reyes still runs well, beats it out, but a lovely turn there by Gene Segura and Chris Owings.
It looked like Segura was going to take it himself initially, and then the quick backhanded shovel right there to Chris Owings. It was close at first base. Sure was.
No challenge from the Diamondbacks. It'll bring up Kelly Johnson, the 3rd baseman tonight. Johnson has twice grounded out, 0 for 2. Kelly Johnson, one-time Diamondback, signed as a free agent here prior to the 2010 season. Had a good year with Arizona, hit .284 and 26 home runs. But didn't do much the following season, was dealt to Toronto for Aaron Hill and John McDonald. And he has alternated the last 2 years between the Braves and the Mets. 2 years in a row he started with Atlanta and was traded to New York. That Godley curveball, 1-2. Base hit to center. Mets will have 2 on and 1 out for Jay Bruce.
Bruce has grounded out twice. Third in the National League in RBIs. He has 3 hits and a pair of walks in the series. Reyes at second, Johnson at first, 1 out. Jay Bruce has shown some of his usual power this summer, but he's not hit very much for a while now. He's batting only .206 since July the 1st. Traded from the Reds to the Mets August 1st, right at the deadline. Puts this one up in the air out to Ricky Weeks Jr. in left field. 2 outs. That'll bring up James Loney, the first baseman. Loney has struck out and grounded out.
We're talking about trade deadline moves. The Rangers beat the A's tonight 6-2. Jonathan Lucroy hit his 7th home run as a member of the Rangers in 15 games.
Oh, that's just going to make the people in Cleveland even more upset. Meanwhile, the Indians lost at home to the White Sox 10-7. They're still very angry with Jonathan Lucroy in Cleveland, but Hayes had the right to veto that deal. And he earned it. It was in the contract.
I can't blame him. I mean, when the Indians tell you you're going to be the backup catcher and a backup first baseman, and you feel you're an everyday player, and there's a lot of teams out there that feel you're an everyday player, why would you go somewhere you're going to sit the bench half the time?
He's one of the best catchers in the game. Darvish pitching that ball game for the Rangers. Got the win. David Price got that win for the Red Sox in Baltimore. 2-0 on Loney. Another one out to left field for Weeks Jr. Zach Godley, he's through 6 innings with a 6-1 lead. Coverage of baseball. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Look around the rest of the National League West. Padres 2-0 losers in St. Pete against the Rays will be in San Diego tomorrow for the first of 4. A couple of hops to Reyes hit short. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 7th. Let's put that back up there if we can, guys, just to give the fans a little more chance to check out the scores. Thanks very much. So 2-0 the final in Tampa Bay. I guess the humidor is broken these days at Coors Field. Rockies beat up on the Nationals 12-10. Giants lost again. Matt Cain on the mound. 6-5 Pirates beat him at AT&T Park. And Adrian Gonzalez hit 2 home runs. Justin Turner 1. Dodgers 7-2 winners in Philadelphia.
Trey Turner had another triple today for the Nationals in that game at Coors Field. I think that's 6 now. He's only been up for a couple of weeks.
He looks like he's going to be quite a player. Very impressive when we saw him. He can play shortstop, second base, center field. Zach Godley singled and scored his last time up. But he strikes out here quickly. 2 outs for Lugo. Gene Segura 0 for 3 tonight. Segura coming off a 3-hit night last night. He's got 4 hits in the series, including 2 doubles. And after his 3 hits last night, came into the ball game leading the National League in hits. Oh, 0-1. Segura has hit safely in 3 straight games, 9 of his last 10. And during that span is hitting .364.
Boy, and I need you tonight, Gene.
Uh-oh, I smell beat the streak.
Yeah, he's my beat the streak guy tonight.
You're up to 12, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Did you take 1 or 2?
I took 2. Mookie Betts got a hit earlier today in that rain game in Baltimore. Come on, Gene.
Got to get to 13 here. Drives it to center. Anderson backs up.
Yes!
The track, and there it is. It's off the base of the wall. And Bob Brenly is up to 13 and beat the streak. Wait, what?
Just needed a little encouragement, that's all.
Gene, the hitting machine.
He needed to know how important this at bat was. Boy, he barreled that ball up to straightaway center field. Hit a long fly ball earlier in the ball game to right center field. This one straightaway center over the head of Curtis Granderson. Yeah, baby.
That is his 30th double, Gene Segura. Here's Mitch Haniger.
Mitch Haniger on my beat the streak team too.
There you go. Just pick the whole roster.
Whatever it takes.
.30 doubles for Segura. His 5th hit in the series. 0-1 on Haniger, was struck out 3 times to start tonight in center field. In his 2nd major league game. And he's down 0-2. Haniger stands in that back corner of the batter's box. We saw him go down and get a couple of pitches in that ball game last night. But he's way off the plate, isn't he?
He's really a long distance off the plate. It'd be interesting to see how opposing teams go after him. You would assume you're going to see a lot of pitches on that outside corner until you prove you can cover that pitch.
He's got another base hit. They will wave Segura. Here's the throw from Kelly, and they got it at home. But a base hit for Mitch Haniger. That's his first major league single, his 3rd big league hit. We are through 6. D-backs have a 6-1 lead.
the New York Mets in a course of a week. They lead this one 6-1 as we start the 7th inning. Valley Toyota dealers, let's go places. As soon as this one is done, we are right back on an airplane. Hard to believe. And we head to San Diego for 4 games against the Padres, who are just above the Diamondbacks in the NL West. Padres were shut out in Tampa Bay today, 2-0. Archie Bradley and Paul Clemens in the opener tomorrow night at Petco Park.
You know, even in the most dismal of seasons, you look for something to play for. And it isn't much, but the Diamondbacks would sure like to climb over the Padres and get out of the basement of the National League West.
Well, Zach Godley's doing what he can. He's got 10 ground ball outs, 4 strikeouts. He's given up only 1 run on 3 hits. And he's at 70 pitches to start the 7th. He's been very efficient tonight. And there's strike 1 to TJ Rivera, who's 0 for 2. Rivera sends that in the air. Let's see if Haniger can go get it. It rolls to the wall. And TJ Rivera has his 2nd big league double. He had a career night at the plate last night. Rivera 4 for 4. He scored twice.
Goes down and gets that one. Drives that ball just to the left to straightaway center field. Haniger off like a shot, but just couldn't get there.
And they'll put the shift on now for Curtis Granderson, who was struck out twice against Godley. Drury, the third baseman, will stay near the third base bag with Rivera at second. Hard into the shift, and Segura's got it. Gene Segura reaches out and snags that one down.
Three or 4 steps and a jump to his left. Takes a base hit away from Curtis Granderson right there. Quickly looked over his shoulder to see what Rivera was doing out there at second base.
Boy, Zach Godley has pitched a beauty here tonight. D-backs bullpen still quiet. 6 1/3 innings, a career high for Zach Godley. The Met catcher Travis d'Arnaud 0 for 2. Well, this is, as you mentioned, Bob, the same Zach Godley that we saw Friday at Fenway in long relief of Patrick Corbin. Came on to work the 2nd inning in Boston. 5 1/3 innings, gave up just 1 run on 2 hits. 67 pitches in 5 1/3. Very efficient then. Sky high. Haniger in center. 2 outs. Pitcher spot due up now. It's 8th for the Mets after the Terry Collins double switch. So here's Wilmer Flores off the bench to hit for Lugo. Flores 259 and 12 homers.
A big tip of the cap to Wilmer Flores. As you know, the Diamondbacks didn't take batting practice on the field today. The Mets hit in a later slot, and after they were done hitting, it was still about an hour before game time. Wilmer Flores stayed out here, and as you can hear, there's quite a few Mets fans in the house tonight, and he stopped to pose for pictures with every one of them.
He loves being a Met, Wilmer Flores, that's for sure. The only organization he's ever known. Godley so far a double and 2 outs on just 4 pitches. There they are. Met Nation is with us. Fires that one down the line in right, and it's foul. James Too Tall Tolar. A little too tall that time. Well, Wilmer Flores had a miserable start to the year. He was bogged down by a left hamstring injury. Wound up on the DL in the middle of May, but he has settled in. He's hit .290 since June the 1st. And the problem for Wilmer Flores this year is the same really it's always been. Where do they play him defensively? He's sort of a man without a country right now. Almost traded at the deadline last year when that trade for Carlos Gomez fell through.
Concerns about Gomez's hip. So Flores, who was in tears in the dugout when he thought he'd been traded, wound up staying in New York.
I think I would have been exactly the opposite.
Running for the cab.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, I have that same feeling when we're there. Flores is out of Venezuela. He's been in the Met organization since 2007. They signed him when he was just a baby. He only just turned 25 about a week ago. Full count, 3-2. Godley so far tonight has walked just one. He's got 4 strikeouts. Try and talk it over with Tuffy Gozawish with a full count and 2 outs, and Rivera at second base. Bullpen still quiet for the Diamondbacks. Sanderson Ford's kind of like a Zumba class out there right now, but nobody throwing as of yet.
You don't even have to see the scoreboard, and you know where you're at in the ball game by which relief pitchers are getting loose. If it's Dominic Leone, Randall Delgado, you know it's probably early in the game.
Ground ball to shortstop for Chris Owings. Another ground ball out for Zach Godley. That's 11 through 7 innings. He leads at 6-1.
The 7th, and you know what that means, fans. Anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Home half of the 7th inning, and the new pitcher for the Mets, it's the rookie Gabriel Ynoa, who was just called up from AAA Las Vegas on Saturday. Made his major league debut that day against the Padres, 1 scoreless inning, and he picked up the win in relief. And he was the first Mets reliever to win in his major league debut since 1993. It's just his 3rd big league game, and he'll get to face Paul Goldschmidt here to lead off the 7th. Diamondbacks have out-hit the Mets 8-4. They lead at 6-1. 3 D-backs homers. Weeks Jr. and Tomas back-to-back in the 4th. And then Ricky Weeks Jr. hit another one, a 3-run shot in the 5th.
Goldie so far has walked twice, singled, and scored 2 runs. He's got 5 hits and 4 bases on balls in this series. Two and 0. Two and 2. That's going to reach the seats and out of play. Rockies winners at Coors Field tonight, 12-10. They beat the Nationals. Giants lost at home again to the Pirates, 6-5. Pittsburgh beat them. Dodgers 7-2 winners in Philadelphia. Padres lost 2-0 at Tampa Bay. That's the NL West today. Full count to Goldie, 3-2. Ricky Weeks Jr., who has homered in his last 2 at bats. Batting cleanup tonight. He's on deck. Goldie squirts one through into left, a base hit. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning and plumbing cool plays of the game. Ricky Weeks Jr. home runs numbers 7 and 8 on the year. He's got 5 RBIs.
Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning and plumbing cool plays of the game. You know what's even cooler than that? After the fact, I noticed in Jonathan Neese's bio here, he made his major league debut September 2nd, 2008 in Milwaukee, and the first batter he faced was Ricky Weeks, and Ricky Weeks took him deep.
Ooh, Ricky's got his number. Don't lose it. And as we mentioned earlier, all 8 of Ricky Weeks Jr.'s home runs this year have come when he's been in the starting lineup for Chip Hill. One and one.
We see Ricky do that every now and again when he swings and misses and the bat comes around on the follow through. Occasionally he'll lose the handle on it. We've seen him toss a couple of bats against the backstop, swinging and missing.
Well, he always says when he's up there he's looking for a strike, doesn't care what the pitch is. Just up there looking for a strike. Especially when he's in pinch hitter mode. One and two. Mitch Haniger, Jake Lamb. Night off for Jake tonight. Two and two. Fastball missed. So another close one. That time a slider, and the count is full 3-2. So we know it has gone full to the first two batters he's faced. 6 balls, 6 strikes so far. He walked him. First two have reached in the Diamondbacks 7th.
Nice job by Ricky Weeks that time. He chased a couple of those sinkers down and in off the plate early in the at bat, but laid off that last one for ball 4.
Yasmani Tomas has struck out, homered, and walked. Tomas has homered in 3 straight games, every game in this series, now with 24. Tied with Jake Lamb for the team lead. He's up there with nobody out. Goldie at second and Weeks Jr. at first. Gets the first one up in the air, deep center field. Way back. It's off the wall. He just missed. Here comes Goldie. Here comes Weeks Jr. Tomas is headed for third, and he's in there. Yasmani Tomas, El Tanque. Let's take a trip around the bases.
Not going hard out of the box. Thought he might have hit a home run right there, but he will pick it up and end up at third base with his first triple of the season.
8-1 Diamondbacks. Chris Owings singled his last time up. He's 1 for 3. Oh, that's interesting. Yanoa has not retired a batter, a single, a walk, and a 2-run triple, and he plunks CO right in the back on the first pitch.
Things that make you go, Darno set up on the inside corner, a tailing fastball that just ran farther inside, got him right in the wallet.
Brandon Drury 0 for 2. He has walked. A 2-out walk back in the second against John Neese. Still nobody out. Tomas at third, Owings at first, and 2 runs in. D-backs with 3 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, and now 2 here in the 7th. That's a strike, 0-1. Doubled up on the changeup, and he's ahead of Drury 0-2. Brandon Drury was hitting .320 on May 15th, but since then, in just over 60 games, Brandon has hit .215. And he's been moved all over the field, right field, left field, third base, second base, and at third tonight. Flare out to right center. In comes Bruce. Tomas at third, and here he comes. Yasmani tags up and scores the RBI for Brandon Drury, and it's 9-1 Diamondbacks. Tuffy goes to show for 3. Tuffy to start behind the plate tonight on his 33rd birthday. There you go. Happy birthday, Tuffy. To third. Nice backhand stop by Johnson. And the Mets are able to turn the double play. But the Diamondbacks get 3 more. They lead it 9-1. What's next brought to you by CenturyLink. As soon as this one's over, we are back on an airplane and headed to San Diego for the first of 4 against the Padres at Petco Park. Archie Bradley gets the ball in game 1 of that series against right-hander Paul Clemens. Diamondbacks live pregame show comes your way at 6:30 tomorrow. 7:10 first pitch from Petco Park in San Diego. Ty Kelly leads off the 8th inning. Zach Godley back out there. There's Archie. Zach Greinke starts on Friday, Robbie Ray Saturday, and Braden Shipley on Sunday. And we are finally back home for more than 10 minutes. That'll be nice. 4 against the Braves and 3 against the Cincinnati Reds. Don't forget, fans, next Tuesday is a $1 hot dog night, Teal Tuesday here, the 23rd. Get your tickets for that one at dbacks.com. $1 hot dog night coming up. Every Tuesday home game here in August. So you got 1 more of those to go to take advantage of that offer. 2-0 on Ty Kelly. No one throwing in the Diamondback bullpen as Godley opens up the 8th inning.
Mets fans swept by the Diamondbacks at Citi Field last week. D-backs threatening to take 2 of 3 here. They lead the rubber game 9-1. Nice job foul in front of Tom Goodwin at first.
Boy, how about the job that the heart of the order has done for the Diamondbacks tonight? Goldie, Ricky Weeks Jr. and Yasmani Tomasa combined 6 for 8 with 8 runs driven in. They've scored 8 runs, 3 homers and 3 walks.
How are we looking?
Money hitters tonight.
By the way, we do have some injury updates to pass along, courtesy of Nick Piccoro. Chris Herman, boy, it seems like the Herminator's been out for a long time. His rehab is on hold now. He's still got some discomfort in that hamstring. So it was a couple of weeks ago, in fact, we saw Chris working out down on the field, but he's just not been able to get back and get healthy. That leg is still bothering him. So we don't expect to see Chris Herman back anytime soon as Kelly walks. And A.J. Pollock has had now to sit out 3 straight games after he got off to a tremendous start with Class A Physalia. He's had an oblique injury that's acted up. So Nick tells us that A.J. tonight is sitting out his 3rd straight game. Just the 2nd walk issued by Zach Godley. That brings up Jose Reyes. To left for Ricky Weeks Jr. One away.
Boy, Zach Godley, we talked about the way he's rolled up ground balls. He's had 4 strikeouts in the game, but even when the ball's been hit in the air, it's been lazy fly balls to medium depth left field, lazy fly balls into center field.
Weak contact. Their only really ball that they've hit against him all night was that Rivera double in the left center field gap to lead off the 7th. Kelly Johnson now. Looks like. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to say Johnson did hit a ball hard his first time up with Reyes on at first. Remember, he hit the line drive off Goldie's glove. They ended up retiring him at first base. But yeah, you can count them on one hand, the number of hard hit balls in this game.
Mets with only 4 hits. Broken bat, that'll dunk in for a base hit. Kelly Johnson 2 for 4. Got a couple of Kellys on the bases for the Mets. Ty and Johnson. Here's Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce 0 for 3. Well, he is hitting only 185 in 14 games with the Mets. This is his 15th game. Should pay a long, slow walk out to the mound now. There is action in the Diamondback bullpen. I see Steve Hathaway warming up down there, the lefty. And you've got the lefty Bruce coming up. And Chip is not going to let Zach finish this one. Well, he pitched a whale of a ball game.
Outstanding ball game for Zach Godley tonight.
We'll take a break from Chase. D-backs lead at 9-1. Zach Godley's night has come to an end. Don't forget, fans, you can stay up to the moment at any moment with MLB.com at that app, the #1 app for live baseball. You'll get video highlights, game day, StatCast, news, the whole thing. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. On your phone and tablet, here's Steve Hathaway, the rookie lefty. 9 appearances this year, 7 of them scoreless. In there to face Jay Bruce. That one's carved foul. Hathaway is your Arizona Federal Credit Union pitching change. A stretch of 7 straight scoreless outings snapped against the Mets on Monday. Faced 3 batters, gave up 2 hits and a walk.
Trying to whittle those numbers down. Got off to a rough start down at Dodger Stadium when Chase Utley took him deep in his major league debut. But for the most part, he's pitched much better since then, especially against the lefties. But when you're only getting your work an inning here, 2/3 of an inning there, it's tough to get those numbers down to respectability.
That one is lined hard toward the right field corner. A fair ball. This will score Kelly. They're going to stop Johnson at third, and Jay Bruce has an RBI double.
Baseman James Loney.
High inside corner of the plate, just a straight fastball that time from Hathaway. Bruce didn't really square it up, but hit it hard enough to get down that right field corner and drive home a run.
So a 9-2 ball game. That's the Mets' first run since the first inning. They led it 1-0. And here's James Loney, the first baseman. Loney 0 for 3 tonight. Boy, Loney was 0 for 4 last night. He sat out Monday's ball game. 0 for 3 tonight. 0 for 10 last week at Citi Field against the D-backs. Slaps that one foul, and it's 1-2. Jake Barrett warming up in the Diamondback bullpen. Got the right-hand hitting T.J. Rivera on deck. 1-2 on Loney.
Zach Godley, that's the longest outing for a Diamondback starting pitcher since June 18th, when Zach Greinke went 8 innings against the Phillies.
Zach tonight 7 1/3. Called strike 3. Hathaway rings up Loney. 2 down.
Good spot right there at the knees, outside part of the plate.
Here comes Chip Hale. And he will go get his right-hander Barrett in the bullpen. We'll take a break from Chase Field. Jake Barrett on his way in. Diamondbacks lead the Mets 9-2.
Godley, who was outstanding tonight. 2 outs here in the top half of the 8th inning. Hey, fans, we invite you to participate in Gila River game nights by signing up at one of the interactive kiosks located right here at Chase Field during any Diamondbacks regular season home game.
New pitcher for the Diamondbacks. It's Jake Barrett. He'll face T.J. Rivera. Mets have second and third, 2 outs. Jake, a 3.71 ERA in 50 appearances this year. He last worked 1 inning Sunday in Boston. Had a save and a blown save at Citi Field against the Mets last week. Rivera doubled hard to center his last time up. He's 1 for 3. T.J. Rivera last night just the 4th player in Mets history to have a 4 for 4 night in one of his first 5 career starts in the major leagues. He's only played 7 games. This is number 8 tonight. Barrett ahead 0-2. Mets have Kelly Johnson at third, Jay Bruce at second, 1 run in. Drury at third. Oh, throw, nice scoop by Goldie. That ends the inning. But the Mets get 1. Bottom 8 on the way. Diamondbacks lead at 9-2.
You're going to go with the lead story on Diamondbacks Live tonight. We're going to go with the lead story on Diamondbacks Live tonight, presuming it's status quo from where we are now. Do you go to Zach Godley, or are you going to play the Ricky Weeks card? What are you going to do?
Ricky Weeks has to get some props, but there's no denying what Godley's done. We're going to look at how he was so effective.
You sure?
Absolutely.
That's written in stone?
Written in stone.
So let it be written, so let it be done. Diamondbacks Live coming up, Steve and Bob, right after you guys are done with this one. So bring it home.
All right, you guys then break it down after we bring it home with the whole thing. Here's your Gila River game summary. Zach Godley outstanding, as Joe just mentioned. 2 runs allowed, 5 hits, 7 1/3. Diamondbacks have 3 home runs, 2 by Ricky Weeks Jr. He's knocked in 5. New pitcher for the Mets, the left-hander Josh Edgin. And he'll face Phil Gosselin, who will hit for the pitcher Jake Barrett. Edgin, a Tommy John guy. He had his surgery March of last year, so it was finally brought back up earlier this month from the minor leagues, part of his rehab, just his 4th appearance of the season. Gosselin hitting .273. He's got 2 home runs. Looks like Dominic Leone warming up in the Diamondback bullpen.
He'll get the 9th. Two and one on Gosling. Looks like everything else in the major leagues is done tonight. This is the last game. They're still playing in Anaheim, bottom 9th. Gosling laces one right to Reyes, and that's the first out. Mariners lead the Angels 4-2 in the 9th inning. Gene Segura doubled in the 6th inning to keep Bob Brenly's beat the streak alive. Now up to 13.
Yes, he did.
That was a highlight. Gene now with 5 hits in this series, 3 of them doubles. Coming off a 3-hit night last night. That's fouled off, and it's 0-1. So Gene has hit safely now in 4 straight games and 10 of his last 11. Boy, during that stretch, he's got 9 extra base hits. Oh, 2. Segura leading the National League in hits coming into the start of play today. Here's Dominic Leone, Garvin Alston running things out there. Segura drops that one into right center. His second hit tonight, 2 for 5 for Gene. And the D-backs have a 1-out base runner for the rookie Mitch Haniger. Well, Mitch tripled for his first major league hit last night, and then followed that with an RBI double, so he knocked in 3 last night. He singled in his last time up, so our stat of the night comes from Dennis Lamb, star of the Dennis Lamb Show. If he homers here, his first 4 major league hits will be for the cycle. Triple, double, single, this would be a home run. No pressure.
No, none at all.
But our own Dennis Lamb came up with that one. And he's getting ready to his audio duties, getting ready for the post-game interview on the field. Dennis Lamb down there with Mickey, I think, right? There he is. That's the latest episode of the Dennis Lamb Show. Mickey's got to work, though. I mean, he needs room down there. He's got the camera. He's got to be able to swing it around. Dennis. Mick, that's right. Get him out of there, Mick. Mickey's got a velvet rope around him. Dennis is not on the list. 3-0 on Haniger. There's a walk. Six walks issued by Mets pitchers today. That'll bring up Goldie, who's walked twice and reached base safely in all 4 plate appearances tonight. 2 walks, 2 singles. He scored 3 runs. This is a dangerous spot for Josh Edgin. Sort of get that feeling like better not hang one right here. Goldie with 6 hits in the series. Two and 0. You know, if you throw out the first 5 weeks of the year, and I know you can't do that, but if you throw those out, the numbers look very Goldie-like. You remember that slow start he had? It seemed like a long time ago now, but he didn't look quite in sync up there to start the year. He was hitting only .220 on May the 8th. But since then, a span of 85 games, he's hit almost .330.
One thing that's been missing from Goldie recently, even as he's piling up the base hits and the walks, the long ball. 3 homers in the month of July, only 1 so far in August. Now you get the feeling, like you said, that he's just about due to go on another long ball run here very shortly.
Not going to get the chance in this at bat, and Edgin has loaded the bases with 1 out for a guy who's already homered twice tonight. Here comes Dan Warthen, the pitching coach. Ricky Weeks Jr.
Hey Josh, stop walking, guys.
We got 4 to play in San Francisco. Let's just get out of here. Blaine's waiting.
Left fielder, Ricky Weeks Jr.
So here we go. Bases full for Ricky Weeks Jr. A 2-run home run in the 4th and a 3-run homer in the 5th. He walked and scored his last time up. Segura at 3rd, Haniger at 2nd, Goldschmidt at 1st. That one gets behind d'Arnaud. Here comes Segura, and he sneaks in there with a 10th run. Everybody else moves up. Oh, by the way, pitch was a ball.
Was it ever?
That's a strike, 1-1. Segura scores on the wild pitch, and it's 10-2 D-backs. Two and two. Tomas, who homered back in the 4th inning and also hit a 2-run triple, is on deck. Haniger at 3rd and Goldie at 2nd. Full count, 3-2. Edgin has walked the last 2 he's faced. He's already brought 1 run in on a wild pitch, and now he's gone full on Weeks Jr. with Tomas on deck. The 3-2 pitch. Called strike 3.
But it looked like it caught the bottom of the zone right there. Mr. Edgin throws a strike and catches everybody by surprise.
Yasmani Tomas. Another big night for Yasmani. He's homered now in 3 consecutive games. He's also walked and hit a 2-run triple. 2 on and 2 out, 1 run in. Yasmani Tomas, the batting average dipped just below 250 back on July 16th. That was the low point for Yasmani. But he's been hitting new heights ever since. Last 23 games, 6 doubles, 11 home runs, and 20 RBIs. He has homered in 3 consecutive games. He's got 7 homers in his last 10. Drives another one. Deep center field. Way back. And that ball is gone. Yasmani Tomas That's his second home run tonight and his 25th on the year. And the Diamondbacks have opened up a 13-2 lead. 8 home runs in his last 10 games.
Narrowly missed a home run in his last at bat when he tripled out near the same area below the yellow stripe. This time sails it up and over. Stay high. Man,
that power is in there. Just natural, raw, easy power.
it's his 7th multi-homer game this season. Tied with Steve Finley for second on the franchise list. Luis Gonzalez had 8.
CO right back to the mound. Edgen knocks it down. And that ends the inning. But the Diamondbacks get 4 more. We head to the 9th. They lead it 13-2. To D-backs offense. They lead at 13-2, and Dominic Leone on to finish this thing up in the 9th inning. A 7.27 ERA in 16 appearances. What a night. Ricky Weeks Jr. 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Yasmani Tomas 2 home runs and a triple. He's got 6 runs batted in. Phil Gosselin, who hit for the pitcher, will stay in the ball game and take over at second base as Curtis Granderson leads off the 9th for New York. Granderson 0 for 3 has struck out twice. Pretty good job by your number 4 and 5 hitters, Bob, as you were mentioning earlier. They got 11 RBIs between the 2 of them. 5 for Ricky Weeks and 6 for Yasmani.
That's why they're in the middle of the lineup.
It's not hard. Granderson belts one way out of here. That's his 19th. And it's 13-3.
Doubter off the bat of Curtis Granderson really spreads out in that left-handed batter's box. No stride whatsoever, and timed that one up perfectly.
Well, Dominic Leone worked 3 of the final 4 days on the road trip through New York and Boston, including Sunday at Fenway Park. Worked 2 1/3 innings of long relief after Zach Greinke's quick exit gave up 3 hits. Travis d'Arnaud, the catcher, now 0 for 3.
Pitcher spot is due up next, and Rene Rivera, the backup catcher, is in the on-deck circle.
How about this, partner? With all the offense tonight, our crack staff has been grinding some numbers for me here.
That's always interesting.
Goldie is playing in his 739th career game tonight. He's got 802 hits. Got a piece of Darno right there. He has more than 486 RBIs and more than 444 walks.
Where are you going with all this?
The only other players that have those numbers through 739 career games: Ted Williams, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, and Frank Thomas.
That's a pretty good list.
That's a pretty good list.
All Hall of Famers.
Wow.
Mike Butcher out to calm Dominic Leone down. A home run and a hit batter. As they announce Rivera to hit for the pitcher.
Rivera's already had his highlight for the evening. He played rock, paper, scissors with Baxter before the ball game and won.
That's not easy either.
Oh.
Baxter is the reigning National League West champion. 209, 4 homers, just 38 games for Rivera. He was 0 for 3 last night, drove in a run with a sacrifice fly. 2 hits in his last 21 at bats as he steps in here. Mets with solo runs in the first, the 8th, and the 9th. Diamondbacks crooked numbers all over the board. 3 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, 3 in the 7th, and a 4-run 8th. 2 homers by Ricky Weeks Jr. 2 home runs and a triple by Yasmani Tomas. Rivera drives one deep to center. Haniger will watch this one go. Dominic Leone has faced 3 batters. He's given up 2 runs and hit a batter. And Rene Rivera has his 5th of the year.
I guess winning rock, paper, scissors wasn't enough for Rene Rivera tonight. You just can't throw center cut fastballs to major league hitters.
2 long home runs in the Met 9th off Dominic Leone. So it's a 13-5 game. And here's Ty Kelly. Joe Borowski and Todd Walsh standing by. Diamondback Live post-game show right after our ball game. A lot to talk about. Zach Godley was tremendous tonight. And a whole bunch of D-backs offense. There they are. Kelly reaches out and lifts that one to right. Tomas won't get there. And Ty Kelly heads for second with a double. And the bullpen is going to have to get busy for the Diamondbacks. Dominic Leone is struggling again. Two homers, a hit batter, and a double. And that'll bring up Jose Reyes. Randall Delgado warming up in the bullpen. First double of Ty Kelly's brief career. Just his 22nd major league game. Reyes singled to lead off the ball game. He's 1 for 4.
Did you watch the pregame show today, by the way?
A little bit of it.
I know you have some duties right before the start of the game, so you don't often get a chance to watch. But I was watching Todd, and Todd had a fascinating piece. At first, I thought it was his garage because there was a million things in there, but it was another guy, and there were like 75 million Met bobbleheads in this one room.
I think it was Jerry Brown, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
This is in the air to left for Ricky Weeks Jr.
We knew it wasn't Todd's garage because it was very neatly organized.
And there was no giant ball of string.
Yeah, no string.
Now, Todd, wait, look, I mean, this is unbelievable.
Can you believe this?
Look at all the Met ones right there in the middle.
Yeah, it's something to behold. I couldn't believe when I walked in. I was afraid I wasn't going to get out.
Yeah, some of those might have been actual people at one point.
Yes, I think you're
but that is an impressive collection.
He said there's over 1,200. That's just the room of singles. He's got a room full of duplicates as well. And a therapist that hangs out on call.
The hotline, Kelly Johnson. Did you guys compare hoarding notes?
I realized when I saw Jerry's spare room that that's what my life could have been.
But you were able to get help.
Remember, I'm liquidating. I got rid of Mr. Met tonight, so that was a big deal.
You moved Mr. Met?
I did, yes. The scary thing is I actually brought 2 Mr. Met bobbleheads back from Shea many years ago because Jerry said he wanted one. Now I know why. But, you know.
Yeah, but does Jerry have stacks of newspaper up to the ceiling?
Yes, he does.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that he might actually after seeing that video.
Mine's an illusion.
Well, you just keep telling yourself that. We know there's somewhere in there's a giant ball of string. It's like the size of at least a beach ball.
If this inning keeps going, I'm going to go get that ball.
You might have to. Yeah, that's why I started this whole thing in the first place.
Yeah.
Thanks for being there for me.
Didn't know I was on call in home games.
Well, you never know what's going to come up here.
Squad 51, KMG 365. It's an emergency reference, by the way. One of the great TV shows.
Negative, Rampart.
Okay. All right, Dixie.
1-2 on Kelly Johnson. I was always more of an Adam 12 guy myself in emergency. Those two shows were kind of built together, weren't they?
Is that one Adam 12? See the Man?
See the Man at 211 in progress. Yeah. 55th and Vine. That was Jim Reed and Pete Malloy.
One Adam 12. See the Man trapped in his garage by a
ball of string. Base hit for Kelly Johnson. Jim Tuffle will stop Ty Kelly at third, and the Met hit parade in the ninth continues. And it's going to end right here. Here comes Chip Hill. Well, Dominic Leone can't finish off the ninth inning, and they'll have to go to Randall Delgado. Mets have 1 out, 2 on, 3 runs in. It's now 13-5. We'll take a break from Chase Field.
the ninth inning. Mets have 3 runs in and 2 on. Randall, 55 appearances, a 4.35 ERA. And it's really too bad he had to come in tonight because he worked 3 consecutive days, Saturday, Sunday in Boston, then Monday in the opener here against the Mets. And there's Jay Bruce. But Randall, despite the heavy workload, has given up just 1 run in his last 7 appearances. I got a trivia question for you here.
Okay.
As we take a look at Yasmani Tomas, who tonight has hit 2 home runs and a triple. He's got 6 RBIs, but it's about the home runs. He's got 12 home runs since July 24th. Trivia question. Who has the most home runs in baseball since July the 1st?
I have to eliminate myself. I saw the answer.
It's the Tampa Bay Rays' Brad Miller, who has 15 homers since July the 1st. Well, Delgado comes in and quickly disposes of Jay Bruce. That's the second out. So, you know, impress your friends.
Yeah.
Brad Miller, 15 homers since July 1st. Most of the major leagues. Yasmani, probably more impressive, has 12 since the 24th of July. That's 12 homers in 19 games since July 24th for Yasmani Tomas. James Loney 0 for 4. Tampa Bay Rays and Brad Miller beat the Padres today 2-0 at the Trop in St. Pete. The Trop. Will be at Petco Park tomorrow night. 1st to 4 against the Padres. Archie Bradley against Paul Clemens. 0-1 on Loney. Make it 0-2. Joe Borowski, Todd Wall standing by. Diamondback Live postgame show follows our ball game. Diamondbacks about to make it 2 series wins over Terry Collins Ball Club in the course of 1 week. They swept 3 at Citi Field last week, and they will take 2 of 3 this week here at Chase. The 0-2 on Loney. So this will drop the Mets to 13-19 since the All-Star break. And they have 7 more games to go on this road trip, 4 in San Francisco and 3 in St. Louis. 2-2.
Oh, by the way, they bump up against Madison Bumgarner tomorrow night.
All right, then. I think DeGrom is going in that game. That's a pretty good pitching matchup. Jacob DeGrom and Mad Bum. Ground ball to second for Goslin, and the Diamondbacks win the ball game 13-5. They take the series 2-1. And an impressive display of both starting pitching by Zach Godley, who was tremendous in 7 1/3, and that Diamondback offense. 2 home runs and a triple for Tomas. 2 homers for Ricky Weeks Jr. 13-5 your final.
Yeah, Goldie Weeks and Tomas combined to go 7 for 10 with 4 homers and 11 driven in. They scored 10 runs between the 3 of them, all in support of Zach Godley, who was outstanding tonight.
And now we're off to San Diego for the first of 4 against the Padres. But first, it's the Diamondbacks Live postgame show. Joe Borowski standing by with our own Todd Walsh. Todd.
Steve, thank you. Joe, listen, I know the end of this game will take a little bit away from, I think, what we all witnessed here early on tonight, but let's refocus our energy on what we saw from Zach Godley and, of course, obviously, that high-powered offense, right?
Absolutely. He went out there and he dominated the Mets offense. He was throwing strikes early. He was working ahead, using all of his pitches. Great game.
All right, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll reset and begin Diamondbacks Live, the postgame show. Bob Brentley is going to be here with us before he gets on that plane to San Diego. Kate Longworth is down at field level. She's got some choices, certainly, for our on-field interview. We'll have that in a matter of moments. We'll hear from Diamondbacks skipper Chip Hale, and we'll get postgame reaction inside the clubhouse on this getaway night here for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They take the series as they take the game 13-5. Back with Diamondbacks Live in just a bit. Stick around.